I'd like to call to order our regular city council meeting for Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. We all please
Thank you, Renee.
say the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Renee's got the flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag state
of the United States of America
and to the
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all.
For all.
For all. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for providing a flag, Renee.
Yeah, thanks, Renee.
You're welcome.
Roll call, Sylvia.
Mayor Mays,
Here.
Council President Rosner,
Here.
Councilor Browse,
Here.
Councilor Garland,
Here.
Councilor Gunn,
Here.
Councilor Griffin,
Here.
and Councilor Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a short consent agenda this evening. I have not, in my memory, recall seeing a 13-point consent agenda. But part of it's really, most of it's really exciting because we're appointing or reappointing some fantastic community members to a variety of city boards and commissions.
Right.
So here we go. Item A, approval of the September 1st, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is Resolution 2020-058, appointing Rachel Hay to the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission. Item C is Resolution 2020-059, appointing Winnie Armar to the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission. Item D is Resolution 2020-060, reappointing Sky Bowie to the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission. Item E is Resolution 2020-061, reappointing John Files to the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission. Item F is Resolution 2020-062, reappointing Jeffrey Basley to the Sherwood Cultural Arts Commission. Item G is Resolution 2020-036, appointing Brian Iridio to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Item H is Resolution 2020-064, appointing Donovan Cutsforth to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Item I is Resolution 2020-065, appointing Rodney Leister to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Item J is Resolution 2020-066, appointing Manny Sanchez to the Park and Recreation Advisory Board. Item K is Resolution 2020-067, disbanding the PTO subcommittee. Item L, and we're almost done, Resolution 2020-068, authorizing the city manager to sign an agreement with Pivot Group, LLC, for marketing services. And the last item on the consent agenda is item M, Resolution 2020-069, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Oregon Native Drilling Company for the Newburgh Fiber Redundancy Project.
I move consent.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. Citizen comments. Sylvia, do we have any citizen comments today?
Mayor and Council, we do not have citizen comments for tonight.
Thank you, Sylvia. As a reminder for those watching live or tape delay, in this pandemic period of time, we accept written comments up to 24 hours before our meeting. Item 7 is public hearings. We have one public hearing today. Sylvia?
The Sherwood City Council will hold a public hearing this evening to receive testimony regarding ordinance 2020-009, amending Chapter 2.36 of the Sherwood Municipal Code relating to personnel systems, memorializing and the expectations of the police department and police chief. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present a staff report. Questions, if any, by the City Council for staff. We will then receive any written testimony, and Mayor and Council at this time, the city has not received any testimony. We will then close the public hearing. No other comments will be heard. The final comments by staff, questions of staff, if any, by the council, followed by discussion by the council. This is the first hearing before the City Council on this item. Generally, the council will hold 2 hearings prior to making a decision. A second hearing on this item is currently scheduled for October the 6th. However, in accordance with the city charter, council reserves the right to make a decision at the close of this hearing by a unanimous vote of all city and council members.
Thank you, Sylvia. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and councilors, and any of our wonderful community members that are watching. So you have your packet in front of you, including the staff report, and I just want to hit a couple highlights. This is really a follow-up to the work session that we had back in, goodness, I think it was in June. And one of the items that was discussed, and the first thing that I want to point out is this is really kind of an important vision for both the mayor and I in terms of wanting to get some things established, looking down the road for the future. And so we collaborated together on this. I know it's also important to council, and I don't mean to certainly sell short the role of council in this, but I thought it was important for you all in the community to know that this was very important for both the mayor and I, and we worked together and talked about a lot of these things that you're going to see tonight. Additionally, they've certainly been reviewed by City Manager Joe Gall and City Attorney Josh Schoper. So we worked and put these together. Once we had the initial product, we took it to the Police Advisory Board and shared it with them and had them review it. And they did that on their regular meeting on August 20th, and they are completely behind the changes and the work and have approved in that meeting. They approved these amendments to the municipal code and are passing along their recommendation. As you know, since we're virtual now, it's a little bit different. Normally, if we were able to meet together, the chair of the Police Advisory Board would be appearing before you to share that recommendation. But since our world is a little different right now still, I just carried that recommendation forward in the staff report. Councilor Kim Young is the liaison to the Police Advisory Board, and she was present at that meeting as a part of, or when that recommendation was made. So with that, I think the best thing to do is to refer you to the attachments. The first attachment you have is the red line addition, so you can see specifically what changes were made. And then the second attachment is then you have the actual ordinance, but then the last attachment, at least how I have my packet put together, is the actual new chapter 2.36 and how that would look. So there was really, the Police Advisory Board really didn't make any changes other than to clarify under section 2.36.050, section B, subsection 4, there was a term, when I took it to the Police Advisory Board, the term rightful policing was left in there by mistake. And so they asked, what does that mean? It's not really defined. So that statement in number 4, really, we took out rightful policing, and that statement stands the way it should stand and the way it was intended to stand from the beginning. Other than that, they were, as I said, in full agreement of the document and didn't have any issues or concerns. So with that, I'll certainly welcome any questions you may have.
Anyone? Thanks, Chief. Certainly appreciate your efforts in helping put this together. I think it's great. When you decide to retire in 10 or 20 years, it will be part of your legacy. 20 or 30 years. I don't want to, don't want to have you retire too soon. Anyways, I think it's important. It's a statement to reinforce our values and our expectations and how we want to have continue to have an outstanding police force and that we value and respect and the standards that we want them to perform at, and know that they're well trained and well appreciated and valued in our community. Any other comments?
I have one. I think it's a great document. I just ask on letter B of that subsection that you were talking about, 2.36.050, number 3. I'm guessing that somewhere there are expectations that are tied to what it means to be community-based and focusing on building and maintaining community relationships. What that, I mean, just to clarify.
Well, I guess my response to that would be that it's that we continue to adhere to the community policing philosophy, and the main core component of that is just being dialed in with your community. The police department does not exist in a vacuum, and it most certainly does not exist separate of the community. And as you recall, as we discussed in the work session, we get our authority, we get our justification, we get our right to exist and operate from the community. So that's what that means. And I think maintaining community relationships is pretty self-explanatory. So to specifically answer your question, there's no specific expectations are set up with that. I mean, I think that would drill deeper down into strategic plans that we would have in place as a department, and just how we interact, frankly. It's just, what we do. So we don't want to put expectations in a municipal code. I think Josh would probably say that's not a good idea. But so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I just wanted to get down to specifically the community policing. It's great. Thank you.
Other comments? This is the first reading. We will have a second reading. We can certainly, if we want to be unanimous, we could support this tonight, but the nature of it, there's no reason to do it in one meeting.
This Tim, I have a quick comment. As you were going through this, Chief, I was thinking back to our initial meeting where we talked about police policy and all that. I think, was that back in July or June? I can't remember the date. And I appreciate some of the changes you made here and how it sets us up for the future. And the clarification of kind of how the procedure policy manual for the police department gets reviewed and approved, and taking advantage of our wonderful folks on our police advisory board to help you work through that. And I know you've already started that process, which is great, and look forward to seeing what comes out of that. So thank you for all your hard work on this.
Any other comment today?
Nope,
Right.
I will just confirm that the police advisory board just had that one suggested change, and everything else they had approved. So
Awesome. All right. Then that is the only public hearing on the agenda this evening, and there is no new business, so we'll move to city manager report. Joe?
Mayor and council, good evening. The only comment, and you may have some questions. So we've been, as a world, dealing with COVID for 6 months or so. So in the last week or so, we're going to throw wildfires into that mix and poor air quality and everything else, because COVID wasn't enough.
Joe, we lost your audio.
Can't hear you, Joe.
So some employees that
You wanna-
were
Joe, you
able this
start
past
over?
week, they, what's that?
Your audio cut out.
We didn't hear any of that.
Seriously?
Seriously.
It was a good speech.
Oh,
Looked
my
like a good
goodness.
speech.
We'll listen to it again. No
Yeah.
problem.
We're
All
very
right,
sincere.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
The emotion
Yes.
was just clear on your face.
Okay.
It better
So
be
I
awesome. Look like you're
I will
happy.
try to repeat what I was saying. I just mentioned that this past week, obviously, we have had unprecedented, I hate that word, wildfires here in Oregon and terrible, terrible air quality. And there's been an impact on our communities. And I just wanted to fill in some of the blanks for the council and answer any questions you might have. So we've had some employees that were evacuated that lived in areas that were class 3 or type 3 evacuation zones. Fortunately, no one lost their house or property. Everyone is back home. Thank goodness. The fire up on the hill west of Sherwood is now 100% contained, and that was good news. I know that made folks very nervous, and we've had some employees up there that were evacuated. The biggest impacts in the last few days have been air quality. So a lot of our services have been curtailed just to kind of keep people safe. So things like the library drop-off, pickup were canceled. We canceled court on Friday and Monday. We expect court to be in operation on Friday as air quality improves. We did not close city facilities, unlike some jurisdictions. Most of our staff are working remotely anyway, so we were able to maintain services. Just some of the things were curtailed without closing down City Hall or any facilities, unlike some of our neighbors. So the air quality is getting better every day. I think we will all be happy when rain comes, hopefully later this week, and maybe washes a lot of this terrible air out, and we can get back to what we normally enjoy here in the Pacific Northwest with much better air quality. So I just wanted to touch on that and answer any questions council might have about the last week or so with the wildfires and the air quality, and any questions you might have. So
Questions of Joe or his team? Thanks, Joe. So move to council announcements. I'll lead off with at least maybe part or all of mine. Certainly, yes, we're still dealing with the pandemic. Our numbers in our zip code are outstanding. We had one case the last 2 weeks. The benefit silver lining of this horrible fire and smoke is everyone's wearing masks and staying inside, and so the numbers should continue to be very, very good in that arena, and hopefully we'll get to phase 2 sooner rather than later, and kids in school and all that good stuff, and get past this darn thing. But again, smoke, it's not safe. Stay indoors, stay healthy, you and your family and pets. Want to thank our fire district, TVF&R, for all they've done. They deployed service crews up to the fire near us, as well as the fire near Hag Lake, and they've done an outstanding job with that, and then crews in Hawkins County as well. I want to thank them for those efforts of all of our other firefighters all over the state, professional and semi-professional, and our thoughts and prayers are with everybody that's been impacted by these fires. As Joe mentioned, we had employees they had to evacuate their homes. I think we all know people, even in our own family, friends that also got evacuated, and we hope that we get all past this as soon as we can. Julia helped me prepare a letter today. We sent it out to council to see if you had any thoughts or you're interested in supporting of a letter to the Department of Land Conservation and Development. It is just comments to them about rulemaking efforts they have for House Bill 2001. That is the housing bill related to middle housing, and they're developing a model code as well as alternatives to provide municipalities some flexibility. We got a briefing on this. I got a briefing on it with Washington County mayors on Friday, and then we had to talk about it. We met about it with Washington County Coordinating Committee on Monday. And I would describe at this point the model code and then the flexible language. The flexible language is like wearing a cast. It's that flexible. You can sort of move an elbow. Whereas if a flexible code in my mind is more like a brace with a big hinge in it that bends. So we're advocating for a little bit more local flexibility if we go our own route in abiding by the law, and want you to be able to, the council to weigh in versus just me if that is of interest. Thoughts?
I read the letter. I thought it sounded fine, and I agree.
I have not read the letter, so I will chime in after I've had a chance to review it.
Okay, so you let me know by the morning, or actually we've got a couple days, but take a look at it. Circle either directly back with me or Joe, so we can get the letter to them by the end of the week. And if there's a majority on council that supports it, then it'll be a letter from us. Otherwise, it'll just be a letter from me.
I read the letter. Go ahead, Toby.
Sorry. Go ahead, Doug.
I read the letter, and I certainly agree. I haven't read the code, the proposed language, so I can't obviously comment on what the language says. But I certainly agree with the sentiment of the letter, and honestly, this has been my biggest concern from day one. When this bill passed the House, is that the language would not be flexible enough for local communities, and sad to see my fears were probably well founded. So I'm definitely in support of this.
Yeah, and I read the letter as well, and I had a chance to skim through some of the proposed language, and I would agree with the mayor's assessment about the cast and how it severely limits our ability to manage our zoning and how our city grows. So I think the letter is important to get that feedback back. I wholeheartedly support it. And for those out in, I guess, YouTube land watching this today or listening to the recording later, this is important because this HB 2001 basically took away our home rule on this subject and let Salem decide how we zone our neighborhoods. And the framework they set up basically gives the developers the choice of what kind of housing they build in any neighborhood, and whether that's single-family detached or apartment buildings. I mean, I shouldn't say apartments, multifamily units, those types of things. So it takes a lot of control out of our hands and puts it in the developers' hands. And I think that's not a direction that's going to be healthy for many of our communities in Oregon.
All right.
I'll get
so
now.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And we also discussed HB on Wednesday at the WCCC. Talked about briefly House Bill 2003, which talks about enhanced reporting requirements on cities for and more frequent housing needs analysis reports. So if you don't recall that bill, in short, it requires cities over a certain size, unless you're in metro, it's everybody, all cities to do updated housing needs analysis every 6 years, and then at the halfway point, give reports on where we are in meeting the needs that were in the housing needs analysis, and then annual reports on what is being built in your community. So unfunded mandates. It's important stuff, but we have to turn around and find the money to fund it and do it. So that's all I have. Who would like to give a council announcement? Council President Rosner.
Oh, I'm going first tonight.
Technically second, because Mayor already went.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Actually, no, I don't have a lot for tonight, so I'm going to pass the gavel on to Councilor Young.
I actually don't have anything either. I have both my meetings this week. CDBG was moved up to the third Thursday, and therefore Councilor Griffin will be sitting in for me at the Police Advisory Board since those conflict both Thursday nights. So I don't have any updates for those meetings as of yet. My other liaison is the YMCA, and they are still just doing awesome things there, handing out food boxes, helping students with distance learning, providing childcare. The gym is open, with good, healthy distancing, cleaning and whatnot. So kudos to the YMCA for all they are doing. And I think having them in our community is a great asset.
Kim, is the pool have limited use now?
Oh, so the last I heard, I thought it was opening Monday, but I don't know if that changed with the fires, although it shouldn't if it was indoor. So last I heard it was opening Monday, but I haven't heard that it actually did or not. Joe, do you know?
I think I had the same understanding it was opening on Monday, and I didn't hear otherwise. So I'm assuming it did open, and many folks were very excited that it reopened. The other thing that folks may not know, I know there's folks in town that would like to help people who down in the Detroit area or other parts of the state that lost everything. The YMCA is a donation site for a variety of things to help those families and individuals that lost pretty much everything. And there's a list. It's on the YMCA Facebook page. I also put it on the city's Facebook page, and it's a donation site if you want to take things to help those families and/or individuals. So.
And then my last thing was our parks were open, and you should have seen the moms in the mom groups on Facebook and how excited they were that their kids were just ecstatic to go to the park. So I appreciate the city and the state getting those opened again for our community.
Awesome. I believe the Y is also helping families, if you contact them, with schools still being virtual. I believe different Y locations are if there's a demand, creating on-site distance learning.
Correct. They absolutely are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're.
Which is helpful for folks that
parents
want to break from their kids
or have essential jobs
how many weeks,
that are.
What week number are we with this? 85, 90, 100?
6 months. Yeah. I know there's a couple of private businesses in town that are also offering similar services as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, anything anyone can do to help. My wife grew up in Lyons and spent her childhood running around Mill City in that area, and it's incredibly devastating what happened down. Those cities are almost gone. So a lot of displaced families. So anything anyone can do to help would be much appreciated.
Here. Who'd like to go next with announcements?
I guess I could go. Just be real quick. I don't really have any council meeting liaison announcements or anything. Just wanted to, while we're giving shout outs to everybody, give shout out to the school administration and the teachers. All the kids are back to school this week, doing something that they've never done with the distance learning like this and in this fashion. I know they did it a little bit in the spring, but I think everybody who's gone through it over the last couple of days will state that it's a much different format here in the fall. It's much more structured with class schedules and everything. I've got one daughter in Archer Glen Elementary and one in the Sherwood Middle School. So different experiences for both of them. And we've been fortunate. They're having a good time with it. Everything's for the most part, working well. A couple hiccups on day one, as to be expected, but big kudos to the administration and all those teachers who are having to completely relearn how to teach students in ways that they've never had to do before. So, keep up the good work. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean.
I'll go. The library advisory board met last Friday, so I was actually in my car on the way to the coast when we met. The big thing there is that we're trying to recruit some new board members. They're still continuing to serve like they've been through this whole COVID situation. I also wanted to announce that the Rotary Club of Sherwood will be having their annual Peace Walk, and that is this coming Saturday, September 19th, starting at 10 a.m., meeting at the booth, the Rotary booth at the Saturday Market. If the Saturday Market is canceled, then the Peace Walk will be canceled, if the air quality is still bad. I do want to do a shout out to the community for stepping up and supporting those who have been impacted by the fires and all those that were serving our firefighters who were trying to stop the fires. So specifically Symposium, who did a number of runs with supplies that were accumulated for them. 503 and Fat Milo's both provided meals as well. So just thank you for gathering around our firefighters during this time. The Senior Advisory Board is not meeting this month, but they're continuing to serve the seniors as well. That's all I have.
Russell, Doug? Russell?
I'll go. Let's see. So my liaison assignment to the Parks Board, we met last night, and a couple of big things. So Jason Waters came and talked about the Cedar Creek Trail. Finally, I thought he said we were at 100% of design plan. I think we have all the right-of-way permissions, and he was holding his fingers. We're going to start doing something in November, so October, November. So that's awesome. That's great. So that will be happening. Bids go out, and then I think construction starts as soon as the nesting season is finished, or however that works out, because that's, at least we're moving forward on this 10-year project. So, let's see. It's very cool. Also,
we might actually get it done before the 10th anniversary of getting the money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that money has moved around several times. So. The Parks Board, also, MIG came or appeared at our meeting last night, and we have received the draft of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So if you haven't picked up your copy, mine is somewhere. It's at the on the council desk. Yes, Mayor, when you do that, your head disappears. I just want to tell you,
you're holding it on purpose.
It's perfect. It's frightening.
This technology, I tell you.
That's high tech. Yeah. So the Parks Board submitted some suggested edits and changes. I sent mine over today. It goes next to the Planning Commission, where Doug will be, and then eventually, maybe on election night. I don't know if Joe's going to move that around or not, but it'll be to us on the 3rd. Isn't that right? Well, November 3rd.
There's nothing else of note happening that day, so we might as well have a 4-hour council meeting.
So we'll have to see. So at some point in November, it will come to us. So it's very exciting. And two things. First, speaking of the parks opening, the playgrounds opening, I only had one mother, and I mentioned this last night at the Parks Board, only one mother stopped me and wanted to know if the city was going to be wiping down the play surfaces after each child played. And I said, oh, yeah, here's Kristen Schweitzer's direct phone number. Call her. She'll come out. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. And I said, no, at all times, use the parks at your own discretion and bring your own wipes and watch your kids and have a great time. And you know how that goes. So
Kristen is watching.
Yes. Yeah. So they were very excited. And let's see. Oh, and I don't know. I don't think anybody mentioned it tonight, but I would like to congratulate Chief Growth on being selected to chair the Oregon Accreditation Alliance. He will have a 1-year term, and it's quite a big thing. 20 board members, including police chiefs from all over the state, sheriffs from all over the state, 911 directors from all over the state. So I think it's awesome that our wonderful small little town, and that's not the first time he's been the president of some statewide organization. So kudos to Chief Growth for, representing us and just getting involved. I just think it's great to have a voice, to be present. I think it's all about being present. And I think that's it. That's all I got.
Thanks, Doug, or Russell, for remembering the Chiefs. That
I was almost going to vote for you. I mean, I still will. So. I'm just kidding. What I mean is, I won't write anything else in.
Doug's turn.
I'll be brief. Planning Commission. We had a couple. We have an opening, as you know, and we interviewed a couple of really good candidates last night, and I assume one of those will be hard choice, but one of them will be selected and be coming forward for appointment, hopefully at our next meeting. Planning Commission does have a public meeting next Tuesday, right here on this YouTube channel. You can submit any public comments or testimony 24 hours in advance. Really, there's no public hearing next week. There's a presentation or an update on the Sherwood Parks Master Plan that Russell was just talking about. So I'll be coming to the Planning Commission next week, as well as an overall update on the comprehensive plan. We are in the housing block of our attractive and attainable housing block of our comprehensive plan update, and I believe the survey is still going on now. So it's a pretty brief survey. You go on Sherwood2040.org and answer a couple questions. It's basically thumbs up, thumbs down, whether you agree with some of the objectives that are being proposed or not.
No, Doug, it's a smiley face or a not smiley face, and I think you're responsible for them. So
I may have played a role in that.
Yeah, I think
so again, Sherwood2040.org.
2040.org.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Yeah. That is.
Now I'm challenging. I got no Sherwood2040.org, so I'll figure it out.
Okay, Sherwood2040.org.
Hey, Mayor, it's also on the city's Facebook page. It's social media.
Then I have no problem there if it's on Facebook.
So we'd love to get your feedback on that survey, and that's all I have. Thank you, everyone.
Or Julia can send the mayor a link directly tomorrow via email.
No, I'll do it in a second as soon as we got them out of the meeting. But if I do have a question for Joe's staff, since Kristen is on the call, I believe. So yes. Kristen, what is the answer? What should moms do now that we have the parks open?
Dads do.
What should moms do?
Sorry,
and
Kristen.
dad. And dads.
Moms and dads, uncles, do with their kids in parks.
Hand sanitizer. And I will also state restrooms are back open. So there hasn't been obviously a lot of usage with the wildfires going on, but restrooms are unlocked. So if people need to go in and wash their hands, they can do that as well. But if not, please come prepared and make sure that you have hand sanitizer on hand.
Dun, dun, dun. Very good.
PSA.
Yes.
Thank you, Kristen.
Oh, I have a quick question.
Any other thing for the good of the collective?
Yes.
Because we don't want to post. It's possible we don't want to put your personal or work cell phone number on the screen for Kristen. That would not be appropriate.
Oh, I'm just kidding. I was only kidding.
Thank you.
I was only kidding.
Anything else for the good of the order?
I have one quick question for staff or Joe. Some in the community may already know this, but there was wind damage to the Cedar Creek Trail near Stella Osun Park. And I was just curious what the status was on that and plans to repair that.
So Craig Sheldon, our Public Works Director, is on the call. Craig, do you have a response to Councilor Rosner's question?
Yeah, I do. So we're able to remove some of the debris, and then we'll be getting in there to fix that the best we can temporarily to get it back so people can use it, as well as we'll be getting it fixed. The problem is that's not as essential employees, we need to take care of roads. So that's where our focus was. And then we have smoke, and we don't have our guys out working in the field right now. So trails, we didn't want to be back on trails cleaning them out when there was fire hazard last week. So once we get back, we'll be about a week behind in mowing, and then some of those things will be getting completed, if not contracted out.
Awesome.
But for right now, some of the stuff in the trail system's still down because we didn't want to have staff out there with the humidity the way it was and create a spark or anything in the trail systems that could have a wildfire ourselves.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Very
Craig.
smart. Thanks, Craig.
Yep.
Thanks, Craig.
One other question, Joe, you can answer, or one of your team, on what is happening tomorrow in Seattle.
What is happening? Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you may recall the city of Sherwood, Julia's team put together an application to the federal government through the EDA, which is the Economic Development Agency. These are CARES dollars, CARES funding, and we applied for slightly less than $1 million to design the road, the connector road that will go through the Tonkin employment area that will connect to Oregon and 124th. And tomorrow, the review committee is reviewing our application, and hopefully we'll give it a thumbs up and move it ahead in the process. And we'll hopefully get some good news out of the federal government that our project will be funded. So, so stay tuned.
Awesome.
Very cool. You know, you don't get a yes unless you ask.
Correct.
And appreciate staff getting the application together and seeing if we can get it. It'll help us with our city council goals of economic development. Anything else we forgot to bring up or want to ask? All right. Well, stay safe, stay indoors. Hopefully you have air filters in your homes. And until next time, everybody. We're adjourned.
Later.